Welcome to No Bullshit Zone. No Bullshit Zone. Audience, one of the greatest hoax has been forced on the people last 500 years is the Messiah. Greatest hoax. We're told that in the so-called Revelations, chapter 20, which is actually European history, that Gog and Magog will go out and see the whole world. And our deception is the chapter itself, because they tell you that chapter is future, when it's actually European history, the so-called Dark Ages. What's this hoax? And it's easy to prove it. And you say, you wonder why no one has ever done it before. Because a lot of people are on it. Has a certain purpose for it. So let's look into it. You know, you have the Bible. Yeah, so-called Old Testament and New Testament. Some people call Old Testament the Torah. Some call New Testament the Gospel, which have the Old and New. Okay. And so, and you have this character, the main character in the so-called New Testament is Jesus. Now, he's supposed to be the Son of God. He's the one that everything created through him, right? He's the Son. Yet there's no mention of him at all in the Old Testament. None whatsoever. No mention. Say, well, why is that? Why is no mention of him in the Old Testament at all? There's not. You go in there, you will not find the name Jesus in the Old Testament at all. Nowhere. So-called Torah is not there. Okay. So then, okay, well, but why is it just in the so-called New Testament, the Gospel? Okay, now, the Old Testament, basically, in general, I mean, because the people are going to question, right? But we just lock it down to two things, Aramaic and Hebrew. So we're not going to isolate, say it's one or the other, right? Because some people say, well, they want to argue whether it's Hebrew or Aramaic. Either way, that's the scriptures are written there. The original manuscripts are written there. It's not in Greek, not in Latin, not in Spanish, not Russian. It's it's Aramaic or Hebrew. So now you can go to the original manuscripts. Now you have a lot of translations. The translations are all over the place. But you can go to the original manuscripts, which again is either in Hebrew or Aramaic. You're not finding the name Jesus there either. No, you won't. Go check it. The name Jesus is not there. Wait a minute. Jesus is the Son, and he's the one that right. Christ, the name Christ is not there either. Christ is not there either. But you have Jesus Christ. He's the Son of God. And you say the Bible is the authority, but it's not mentioned in either place. In the manuscripts, not a place. Not mentioned at all. Don't take my word for it, go verify it. Why is it not mentioned there? That's amazing. But you find them in the Bible, but again, you only find them in the New Testament. You don't find them in the Old Testament. So that's strange in itself, isn't it? Just look into it. Let's look into it. Like I said, you will not find the name Jesus in the manuscripts, either Aramaic or Hebrew, neither one. And that's what his original scriptures That's where it was written in those two languages. Okay. Stop the bullshit zone. So Jesus, who's this Jesus? It's not mentioned, yet people believe in him. They got a whole religion based on him. Jesus Christ. But his name is not mentioned in the manuscripts anywhere. Nowhere. See? Jesus. But he bears a resemblance to Mr. Farrakhan, huh? That's interesting. Anyway, let's move on. Because he says he's a Messiah. See, Mr. Farrakhan says he's a Messiah, so. Right? But remember, that Jesus, because Christ means Messiah, so Jesus is supposed to be the Messiah. Right? Jesus is supposed to be the Messiah, because Christ means Messiah. Right? But it's not mentioned in Old Testament or the New in the manuscripts. It's just not there. Go check it. So here's the Aramaic. So let's look at the Aramaic says. See, in Aramaic, if you notice, the name is not Jesus, the name is Joshua. Joshua. Name is Joshua. Joshua. That's the name they have mentioned in the Aramaic, so-called New Testament, a gospel. In Aramaic. So it's translated in English, right? But they kept the name, the actual Aramaic name, Joshua. So let's play a little of it.
Aramaic Bible in plain English. 1 And a certain man was sick, Lazar of the town of Bethany, the brother of Miriam and of Martha. * 2 This Miriam was the one who had anointed the feet of Yeshua with ointment and wiped them with her hair, whose brother Lazar was sick. 3 And his 2 sisters sent to Yeshua, and they were saying, Our Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. 4 Yeshua said, This sickness is not of death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified because of it. 5 Now Yeshua did love Martha and Miriam and Lazar. 6 And after he heard that he was sick, he remained in the place where he was for 2 days. 7 After this, he said to his disciples, Come, we shall go again to Judea. 8 His disciples were saying to him, Our Rabbi, the Judeans had been just now seeking to stone you, and are you going there again? 9 Yeshua said to them, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If a man walks in the daylight he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. 10 And if a man walks in the night he stumbles, because there is no light with him. 11 These things Yeshua said, and afterwards he said to them, Lazar our friend is resting, I am going that I may awaken him. 12 His disciples were saying to him, Our Lord, if he is sleeping, he is recovering health. 13 But Yeshua spoke about his death, and they had thought that he had been talking about lying down, taking sleep. 14 Then Yeshua said to them plainly, Lazar has died.
Now see, brothers and sisters, this is a verse from the Gospel of New Testament. But they don't use the word Jesus, they use Joshua, which is Joshua. Now that we know that, because we go back into this Old Testament, that's the same name they use for Joshua. So no, it's not a mispronunciation, because we can go back and see what Old Testament. Remember, the name Jesus is not in the Old Testament, but there's a name there. And it was the same name as that. Same name as that in the Old Testament. Same name as that. So there's no mistake. So you can't say, well, that's another way of saying Jesus. No. Same name is there. And then we say who this person is. Right? Remember, this is supposed to be Jesus, they say, because they have the disciples and everything else. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is so-called Old Testament, right? Okay, so let's read this one.
Aramaic Bible in plain English. 1 And after Moshe the servant of Lord Jehovah died, Lord Jehovah said to Yeshua son of Nun, the minister of Moshe, to Moshe my servant has died, arise, cross this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land that I give to them, the children of Israel. 3 Every place that the sole of your foot will tread in it, it shall be yours, as I said to Moshe. 4 From the wilderness and the mountain of this Lebanon and unto Euphrates the great river, and all the land of the Kittites and unto the great sea, the place of the setting of the sun, shall be your border. 5 And a man shall not stand before you all the days of your life, and just as I have been with Moshe, I shall be with you. I shall not leave you and I shall not forsake you. 6 Be strong and be greatly strengthened, because you shall cause this people to inherit it, the land that I have sworn to their fathers to give to them. 7 Only be strong and be greatly strengthened to keep and do all the laws that Moshe my servant commanded you. You shall not depart from them, neither to the right nor to the left, so that you will prosper in every place that you will go. 8 And this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall be attending to it by night and by day, and you shall keep and you shall do all that is written in it, that you will prosper and you will be successful. 9 Behold, I have commanded you, be strong and be strengthened. You shall not fear and you shall not be moved, because Lord Jehovah your God is with you wherever you go.
Okay, well, name same. So they're actually talking about Joshua. Because we know who Joshua is. He's the one that leads the people out of captivity, right, to the promised land. He's a warrior. He's a warlord. Right? That's the same person that you see in the so-called New Testament. So we know we're talking about this person. So where's his name Jesus come from then? Who is that person? Because we know who Joshua is, and then we connect Joshua to, oh, well, there will be this scenario, right? There'll be people in captivity, right? In captivity for 40 years. Then God will come to and raise Moses up, right? And Moses will speak to them for 40-some years. Then Moses will depart. This parent Aaron would come, he just mess up everything. Aaron was betrayer, a liar, right? He tried to overturn everything Elijah did. And the God sent Elijah back and says, Moses back and says, he's departed from what we taught him. We departed from our teaching. No, he's gone astray. He's doing his own thing. That's what God says now. This is the story of Aaron. Aaron had worshiped the golden calf. And Aaron got all his followers killed, and he didn't make it to the promised land either. He died in the wilderness. And then it was passed to Joshua, who was under Moses. He was with Moses. So he knew Moses, right? So Moses departed, right? He was still around. And when Aaron was taken down, he took over. He took control. Right? So in other words, he was successor to Moses because Aaron wasn't considered a successor because he turned everything down. He made the children of Israel before the enemies, right? Made them what do you use? I use a lot of different words, right? But he made them look fools before the enemies. So Aaron did all kinds of bad things. So it was given to Joshua. Then Joshua, he goes, and he's a warlord, so he goes to fight to take back the land. That's the story of Joshua. And that's the same person that you saw in the so-called New Testament. So where's his Jesus character? Where's the Jesus character? You're not there. So that told you who Joshua is. And that's not the story they tell you about Jesus. Remember, Joshua is not somebody that comes out of heaven or anything. He's right there with Moses. So in other words, there will be a people, remember the scenario, there will be people that was in captivity. Moses came and started the process, right, of getting them out. Aaron screwed up everything, right? See? And then Joshua took him out and took him back to the promised land, right? That's a scenario. And we got a similar scenario like that in Malachi, because they would say, this Moses, Elijah, right? Same thing, he came and came to the people, right? And then says, messenger of the covenant would come to him, so then he'd be the one that would deliver the people. So you might say they're the same person, right? But we're not going to go there yet. But you with me so far, right? Those two people are the same people, right? Because they mentioned both books. And Jesus only mentioned in one book, but he's not only in the New Testament, but he's not in the manuscripts. So therefore, they made that up. Because where did you get the name Jesus come from? Where's this person? But we know Joshua, and we know that Joshua they mentioned is the same one talking about the Old Testament. So we find what he does. So if we can find a scenario that fits his mission, his task, because we know from the Old Testament that doesn't apply to the people that say they're Jews. Because the people say Jews, they're not. They're synagogue of Satan, and they told the person that you call Jesus, right, which is actually Joshua. That's the name actually in the manuscripts. They told Joshua that never happened to them. They was never in captivity. So that scenario doesn't apply to them. Being in bondage 400 years in a strange land. And on top of that, if that was them, and they was in Palestine, they was taken into Egypt, that's not a strange land. That's like going from New York to Canada. You just step back across the border and you're free. But keep that in mind. Okay? So if you made that connection, right? Nowhere is Jesus mentioned. It's Joshua. And when you see Joshua, what he does. And that's not anything they say Jesus does. But he's the same person that's in both books. That's the name they give you in the so-called New Testament you call Jesus. So where does Jesus come from? Where does this Jesus character come from? Now, see here, it says the name Joshua or Yah, right? See? That's see, if you look at the Hebrew side of it, right? That's where Joshua come from. That name is the same as Joshua. Yahshua. That's the same name. So we can't say it was mispronunciation because they say it's the same name. It really means Joshua, not Jesus. See, they say, well, this is where they say Jesus. No, they say as Joshua. It means Yahweh is salvation. Right? So it doesn't say that. It says if you see that, it really means Joshua. It doesn't mean Jesus. You can Google this yourself. I didn't write this. Let's look at the next one. Here again it says, and Joshua is prominent figure succeeding Moses. So I told you. But that's not the story you get from new Christians. They say Joshua, they say the name you saw in there is really Joshua, not Jesus. It said Joshua is the one that came after Moses in that story in Exodus, right? Okay? And he got into the promised land. Israelites, whoever those people are, they're the real Israelites. So look here. Okay, and what about this Christ word? That Christ not there either. Where'd that come from? Well, that's a Greek word. Christ is a Greek word. It's not in the Bible anywhere. They translate it, but how did he get it? It's not in the manuscripts. The name of the manuscripts is Messiah. So it's Joshua the Messiah. But why they say, where does Jesus come from? It's Joshua the Messiah. You understand? It's not Jesus Messiah because the name is not there anywhere. But Joshua is. So Joshua is the real Messiah. He's going to take you to the promised land. Joshua the Messiah. There's no one called Jesus Christ in there anywhere. That's something they got. Well, how did they get it? Where did they get it from? He don't exist anywhere. Let's go a little further. These you can look up on your own. Deception. Now ask yourself a question. If you went to look at the manuscripts, right? And you say, okay, here's the manuscripts, here's one Greek, here's Hebrew. Will you translate that to English for me so I can see what's in here? We translate English, see it, right? So they translate it. And translate it, you're going to see what you saw. Joshua, you don't see Jesus. Well, I don't see Jesus anywhere. Well, no. You tell me to translate it. It said Joshua. So where does this Jesus come from then? And Joshua is a warlord. He ain't got no special birth. Right? See? He's a warlord. And he was with Moses. He was a follower of Moses. And then he took over. And he delivered his people out of bondage. But they didn't like that with this folk what Jesus tell you about. Because he comes to people that's in captivity. This job comes to people that's in captivity and take them out of captivity to the promised land. That's a whole different story than when they give you. This Jesus they tell you about that doesn't exist anywhere. You don't find them. Where do you get that from? Whatever you would do, you say, translate that to English for me. So they would do that, right? And then you would say, what happened to Jesus? You don't see him anywhere. I don't see Jesus anywhere. No, he's not there. It's not in the manuscripts. You want me to translate it? His name is Joshua. Well, then who is this Joshua? You go look at the Old Testament and you see who the Joshua is. But that's not the same person that tells who Jesus is. So wait a minute, I'm kind of confused here. And Jesus not in there, but Joshua is. And I go look at who Joshua is. And there's no Jesus Christ, and there's Christ not in either. But I look at Joshua, and he's leading people out of captivity in the promised land. That's a whole different story than they telling you. Something's wrong here. Something don't make any sense. Right? Now you're going to manuscripts. So what? Look at this. That's what you do. But what if you did this instead? Okay, you're going to translate everything to Greek first. I want you to understand everything to Greek. Remember, this is the greatest hoax ever. Why would you do that? I speak English, I don't speak Greek. Oh, we're going to translate the Greek first, then why don't you translate directly to English? No, we want to translate the Greek first, and then translate English. Why don't you do that? What's going on here? Why would you want to do that? That don't make any sense. Right? See? Remember, hoax is something that's intentional, a hoax. See? Because they don't want you to know who the real Messiah is. Right? Because they tell you Joshua the Messiah. So see what happens when you do it with the Greek. What happens when you do it this way? Okay. Now, this character here is called Zeus. Remember, they translate the Greek. Zeus is the top god in Greek religion. It's top god. He's a supreme being. There's nobody higher than him. But he's the god of the sky and the heavens. Not sky and earth. Not the god of earth. God of sky and the heavens. Right? But, well, it's got to be a god of earth, right? But he's the God, he's the supreme being. And that's one picture of him. They have a lot of pictures. So that's the Greek God. Remember, they're going to translate the Greek, right? His name is Zeus. Zeus. Okay, see here? Yeah. Zeus, Greek God of the sky. King of the God. He's the king of all the gods, right? Okay. But now, in Greek, you know, like transport, transgender, transportation. When you put that prefix in front of a word, that means it's kind of movement. Transport, transgender, translate. Right? It's a change, you're moving something. So that's what when trans. That's a prefix. You have other prefixes too, but that's one, right? Okay. So in Greek, you have a prefix ge, which has something to do with the earth. Like geography, geophysics, geometry, right? I said geography, yes. So those are Greek words, and it has something to do with the earth. Remember? But JE, they don't have that prefix in Greek. I don't think they have Latin either, because you see somebody call himself Jesus, but they say Jesus. They don't say, right? If you see somebody, their name spelled Jesus, and that's Hispanic or Spanish, they'll say Jesus. They won't say Jesus. So I don't think they have that sound in Latin. I don't speak Spanish, I don't know, right? But they don't have that JE sound in Greek either. But they do have a G sound. right? So if you want, right? So if you put G in front of Zeus, that would make him the god of the earth, right? Jesus. Jesus. You get the point? Jesus. Jesus. Now, if you was a Greek person, you came to America, to English place, and you don't speak English, you can't write English, but you speak Greek. And that's what your name. My name is Jesus. Well, they're gonna write it down in English, and they'll write down Jesus, right? Because that's the way they would hear it. Sound them, so they write it down. Because they can write down the way they hear it sound, the phonetic sound in Greek, in English, right? See? But Jesus would mean the God of the earth. And this Jesus they tell you about in the Bible, he's supposed to be the God of the earth, right? He supposed to say his kingdom on the earth. You get it, brothers and sisters? They made it up. There's no Jesus. They're deceiving you. They want you to tell it's Jesus because they don't want you to know who Joshua is. Remember, they deceived the whole world. Gog and the people, they said, remember chapter 20 in Revelation, what you call Revelations, right? It says, after 1,000 years, it says, Gog and Magog will come out and cover the whole earth. Now, remember, the European country, they didn't know there was whole earth until they came out. After 1,000 years, they didn't know it was whole earth. And it'd be two European world powers. There's only been two world powers that you know of in your lifetime in the last 10,000. You don't know it. Only two world powers you know about is America and Britain. That's Gog and Magog. And one came out there. That's why I say Gog. Magog came out of Gog. Magog means the mother of Gog. So Gog came out of, and they would deceive everybody. And this thing we call Christianity, it began with them. You say, the Catholic Church, Catholicism, and Christianity are different things. Remember, Britain broke away from the Catholic Church, and they started the Protestant movement, which means protested. Right? So they were Protestants. They broke away from the Catholic Church. So Christianity and the Catholics, two different things. Right? What's the distinction without a difference? I guess I don't know you might say it that way, because they pretty much, the only thing about Catholicism, there's no responsibility, because all you got to believe in Jesus and you do everything you want to do. That's in general. But see what I'm saying? So where did Jesus come from? He doesn't exist. And Joshua does. But why wouldn't they want you to know that? Because is there people in captivity that's been in captivity 40 years? Is there? And did someone come and claim that God came to them and told them that people had this time people go home? Oh, well, yeah, that was Elijah. And he 40 years. That's interesting. And the people that was there, they was born in ships. Strange man to be born in ships. And also the people over there say the Jews say they're not. It says right in the Bible, they're synagogue of Satan. Plus they claim they never have them anyway. But you have that scenario. They're 40 years, and then this came, right? And then after that, before he left, you had this Aaron guy. He just messed everything up, turned everything around. They call him Farrakhan. And then the Master of the Covenant would come to Elijah's temple, and he'd be around, and then he'd eventually take control and take the people home. But that would be the Messiah, according to Exodus. That's a clear example, because you said this didn't happen in the past. So is that same scenario? Because that's exactly what Exodus says. And that's exactly the condition that you find so-called black people, original black people in America, that fits them perfectly. Exactly. So that would mean that Joshua Messiah would be amongst them. And if that's the case, and that applies to him, that means he's going to take down Gog and Magog. So Gog and Magog wouldn't deceive you about him. They want you to know who he is. They got to believe something don't exist. In addition to that, the Bible also tells you that his scripture would be woolly hair and dark skin. That's not a picture they give you. That's a visual deception right there. They said that the The next Messiah would have wool hair and brown skin. That's a visual deception. But this right here, where did they get it? No, Jesus not there. He just ain't in there. Prove me wrong. Don't exist. But this Joshua does. He does. And he'll be on the scene now, according to this, because the people, it's time to go home. 40 years is over. Let's go a little further, brothers and sisters, and close out. And said, remember, this so-called Jesus talking about, he says, kingdom is on earth. Zeus, God earth, Jesus. And see, another deception, the vision deception. Okay, you got deception about the name, right? You got the visual deception about the person, because he don't have blonde. They got blonde hair. You got a person's blonde and long hair, and that's not the description they give you. Then you got a vision deception. That's 3 deceptions. You got a visual deception, right? Description deception, right? You got the name deception, or who, let me put it this way. Let's make it as simple as possible. You got deception about the name, description, right? And then you got a vision deception, because they're telling you that the person over there in the Middle East is a true Abraham, when the Bible clearly says it's not, right? And plus, they were set in 1948, because they was killing them. There was a conflict between the so-called Christians, so-called Jews for 2,000 years. And it was almost about to eradicate them, and then all of a sudden, Elijah Muhammad come on the scene and said, oh, no, they started loving each other, and that's a sign now. It's a sign that all the world will see, right? That they're the true Abraham, when the scripture said clearly they're not. You see what they're doing. But they're synagogue of Satan. And what they're doing right now, and gods and everything, I think that kind of verifies that. But anyway, so I'm saying, so you got these 3 deceptions right there. 3 deceptions about Joshua. They say, okay, the name, the visual description. So what happens here? So this all 3 of them, and all 3 of them in trouble right now, because this is about to happen right here. Once they're going, then have to focus on the fact that we must be true to Abraham, because if they're gone, if they're taken down, they couldn't be, because once they're established, they could not be uprooted. So then you got these 3 things. It's about three ways trying to deceive you. Who they are. Who they are. Right? The name. Some mystical thing they made up. Remember, because this Jesus, he's a mythology. Zeus is a mythology that doesn't exist, and Jesus don't either. God earth, the Greek God earth, and then they had to translate to Greek to get that. So that's what they ask. Why did the translation deception? That's no deception. You have to translate over. You don't do that. You translate direct to the language you want to see, but you translate to another language to come back. That means that's a hoax. You're trying to deceive somebody. Look, all the deceptions are taking place. All deceptions are taking place because they don't want you to identify who Joshua is, because Joshua is the person, the Messiah, that's going to take them down. It's going to destroy this whole reality. So all deceptions about that, because there's no Jesus. It never existed. I just showed you. Prove it otherwise. It just ain't there. They had to make them up. This plus the description itself. They keep you from seeing who the real Messiah is. And then they got Aaron. He's helping you. That's Aaron. He's helping you. Because he doesn't even talk about Joshua. He never talked about the message of the covenant. He never talking about the covenant itself. He's on board with all that. Let's move on, brothers and sisters. Because they keep us having a true vision. Because this vision will cause the true seed of Abraham to unite. Visions cause people to unite. You see here? Let me play this.
Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts.
Now, isn't it strange that Farrakhan never talks about that? Never. Yet, this is Malachi where he says that verifies who Elijah is. But he never mentions the message of the covenant. Never. Why? Because he mentioned the message of the covenant, he have to ask, see, well, what covenant? What covenant are you talking about? If the message of the covenant, what's this covenant he's the messenger of? You don't mention the message of the covenant, but let's see what covenant he's talking about. Who is this covenant the messenger is the messenger of? Let me say that correctly. Who is this? What is this covenant that the messenger of the covenant is the covenant of? Get it straight.
And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and, lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. 13 And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. 14 And also that nation, whom they shall serve, will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. 15 And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. 16 But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. 18 In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates.
Whoa. That's the covenant. So he's the messenger. This is the covenant. He's the messenger. Because remember, this is all about Abraham's covenant. But it's to the seed. So you have to be the seed of Abraham to realize there's a plus. It tells you, if you look at this up on the map, that's Arabia. So people in Arabia don't want this. Don't want you to know that. Because they say that's their land. That's Ishmael. That's Abraham's other son. They don't want you to know about that. Because they say that belongs to these people that was in captivity, which it wasn't them. See what I'm saying? And on top of that, Farrakhan never mentions that. He mentions the top part here, but never mentions this. In fact, he goes further. He says, God's a liar because he said we ain't going nowhere. So he called, and this is a covenant. I mean, this is God's word. Involves the word. But Farrakhan said we ain't going nowhere. So he called God a liar. That's what saying, because he never mentions that, never. And plus, he goes further because he said, we ain't going nowhere. But he says, but he missed that top part is us. He said, that's us. You understand, brothers and sisters? Understand what it is, people? What does this mean? So this is what the message of the covenant is. But this ain't what the so-called Jesus you're talking about. He had nothing to do with this. They don't even mention that. He don't even mention that in the so-called New Testament because that's not him. He don't exist. This would the Joshua, the so-called the real Messiah, would be doing. Because remember, there's no name Christ. Christ, that's a Greek name also. But Joshua, that's what Joshua do. Hmm? Let's read this and then close out, brother. This is
1. Now after the death of Moses the servant of the Lord it came to pass, that the Lord spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, To Moses my servant is dead, Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou, and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. 3. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. 4. From the wilderness and this Lebanon even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. 5. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life, as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee, I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. 6. Be strong and of a good courage, for unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land, which I swear unto their fathers to give them. 7. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law, which Moses my servant commanded thee, turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein, for then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. 9. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest.
Okay, brothers and sisters, audience, that's the real Messiah there. I don't know who this Jesus Christ they made up with. That's the real one right there. That's the real one. Greatest hoax ever. They said to go out and see the whole world. That Christianity, in fact, look what Christianity is anyway. There's nobody that works. You see the works of the Christians for 500 years? Murder, rape, genocide. Come on, brothers and sisters. I'm gonna let it go, brothers and sisters. Check it out. Don't take my word for it. History of the cross, known by their works. What's the history of the cross? 500-year history of the cross. Murder, rape, destruction, deception, enslavement, burning, terrorizing. To maintain a slavery system, you must terrorize the people 24/7. They terrorize people from Africa and America for 400 years. Constant terror, 24/7, rape, murder. In the name of Jesus. This was Christians, not Buddhists, not Hindus. Christians in the name of Jesus, when they said Jesus cursed black people, they call them Ham, cursed them to be slaves and persecuted forever. In the name of Jesus, raped our women incessantly, pissed in our mouths, made us eat shit, and then took and tried to clean it up. Not clean it up, but make it look more fashionable, I guess, by calling it chitlins. That's after slavery, of course, after so-called slavery, because what was into it was not slavery. Look up slavery. Look up slavery. It does include murder, rape, terror. This is a Holocaust. And then now they try to downplay it. Oh, that was 40 years ago. No, it wasn't 40 years ago. I don't care if it was a million years ago. It was 40 years ago. It lasts for 400 years. As they're doing today, they took everything away from the slaves. Everything. their name, their culture, their families, their religion, their minds, everything. Fed their children to alligators as alligator bait. And then they talk about what's going on in Gaza when they did 1,000 times worse. What's going over in Gaza now is simply just a miniature version of what they did. What they did was far worse than what's going on in Gaza. Gaza's bad. It's genocide. What they did was far worse and much longer. That's the legacy of Christianity. Murder, rape, disease. They wiped out the native population with genocide and disease. Smallpox blankets, knowing they was full with disease. Herpes, syphilis, gonorrhea from sleep with animals. So-called common cold was not common. Didn't exist here on this side of the world until they brought it here. Murder, rape. When they was raping out women, there was a cross hanging from their neck. And again, they taught black, and this was God's will. God's will. Enslavement of our people. And they continue on even today. That's the legacy of Christianity, the cross. So where's your rap sheet? Every time they arrest one of our people, your rap sheet. What's your rap sheet? How you going to judge people for murder when you're guilty of murder beyond imagination for hundreds of years? Hundreds of years. Theft. You stole his land and murdered his people. And you crushed the native people here. When the braves would go out hunting, you would come into the camps like cowards and kill the women and smash the children's brains out on the hooves of your horses. This is the legacy of Christianity. That's the legacy of it. The question is, instead of Columbus coming here, Dracula came here, Beelzebub, Wolfman, Frankenstein, Phaeton, and they all came instead of Columbus. What could they have done that Columbus and those that followed him did? Satan is the God of this world. That's the God they're serving. They have known them by their works. What are the works of Christianity? What are the works of Christianity? Where's the works of Christianity? Evil, deception, mischief, bloodshedding. It goes on today. And what's going on in Gaza, just reflection and microcosm of what was done here in America for hundreds of years. Raped out women incessantly. They would even rape while they was out in the fields picking cotton. They would jump off their horse and tell them to bend over and rape them. And tell them to keep picking cotton while they was doing it. This is the kind of stuff that they would do. Make one slave defecate and enslave in the mouth of another slave, and then bound it up so they couldn't spit it out for 7 days. That's a legacy of slavery. You did it all in the name of Jesus. That's a legacy of slavery.
I gotta do this. Do you mind? Yes, I'm gonna do something. I don't want to put my brother on the spot. See, this is this. This is something else. Love and faith transcends color. And the reason why we embrace Father Flagler as a brother is because we find him on the battlefield of justice, being a true disciple of Jesus. And the last thing I'll say is, you'll never call us racist.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because this day that we honor,
Yes, sir.
Master Fard Muhammad, if you see an image of him, put his image up.
Yes, sir.
That's the man whose father was a black man and his mother a Caucasian. And how many of us have a parent that's a Caucasian or grandparent? It's not about color. It's about our submission to the will of God. And in that we find common ground and unity. So I'm only one shade lighter than you, so. And Mustafa maybe 4 more shades lighter. We a family.
Yes, sir.
Let's stay a family and be a family and love each other as God would have us to love each other. We love you, Father. Happy Savior's Day. Thank you. I had to do that. We love you.
One more time, brother.
We have a lot of that going on, but we're taking care of our farmers. We can't let our farmers not have anybody, these are these people, you can't replace them very easily. People that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. I said, what happens if they get it to a farmer the other day? What happens if they get a bad back? He said, they don't get a bad back, sir, because if they get a bad back, they die. I said, that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, you heard that. Donald Trump is a believer in eugenics. He believes that white people are the superior race. And inner city is code for black people. And he believes black people cannot now work on the farms. I guess they're not good enough for that. So Hispanic people can do it because they have the backs for it. This is what this man is saying out loud in interviews. He is a racist. It's been proven time and time again. The man had Mein Kampf on his bedside table that he would read at night. Enough to let you know where he stands on that. Just more outrageous, racist things from Donald Trump. They want to arrest those who can do the farm work, well, until their backs give out. And then he'll probably ship them to El Salvador or some other country. Just more vile statements from the president and let you know where he stands.
But so I
when they were arresting people for praying outside of abortion clinics. I mean, I do think the UK, and I say this as, someone who is half English, I think it's like reached, or it is quickly reaching a point where democratic reforms are going to be pretty tough because of the demographic change. And that, of course, the point of importing all these people is to overwhelm the people who live there who disapprove of the program. So you don't have to care what they think because you just bring in new people and their will becomes like all that matters. And so I don't think you're going to fix these things through elections at some point, probably pretty soon. And I just worry a place like the UK, Canada is another, a bunch of different countries in the West are at the point where they're literally revolutionary. They are poised for revolution. And as someone who really doesn't support revolution and hates violence and hates civil war above all, I'm worried about that. I mean, I don't see how this is fixed. Starmer, who's, he's just an instrument of larger forces, but he's a poisonous character, obviously, who's really hurt your country. He's in there for 4 more years. And so you wonder, people are going to start to get really radical in a scary way. I think this is going to happen. And the people in charge don't seem to care.
Well, you're already
They're just
seeing it.
relying on
You are seeing the anger beginning to manifest itself, and I completely understand the anger. I don't, like you, I abhor any form of violence, but I do understand the anger when you have, Keir Starmer campaigned, I'm going to smash the gangs that allow these little boats to come over the channel, delivering tens of thousands of people illegally into the country. And they then get put into these so-called asylum hotels where they're given a pretty good lifestyle, certainly a far better lifestyle than many people really struggling at the moment in the UK. And of course, far from smashing the gangs, it turned out yesterday that he's smashing new records for the number of people coming in illegally on the boats. Of course. It's out of control. And the British public are reaching a point of saying, we are done with people coming in illegally and being treated better in a more comfortable and more luxurious manner than we treat our own people.
Well, the whole point is to humiliate and degrade the indigenous population of the British Isles, the white population. I mean, that's the whole point. And are they really going to do something about it? What would that be exactly?
Public are reaching a point of saying, we are done with people coming in illegally and being treated better in a more comfortable and more luxurious manner than we treat our own people.
Well, the whole point is to humiliate and degrade the indigenous population of the British Isles, the white population. I mean, that's the whole point. And are they really going to do something about it? What would that be exactly? You'd really have to force a lot of people to go back to their countries of origin, millions of people, and you need to do it really soon. And are they actually willing to do that? I don't know, but these are existential questions that we have been browbeat into ignoring for decades. But the question is, is Ireland Ireland? If it's majority non-Irish, oh, shut up, they're Irish. No, they're actually not Irish. Same with the UK, same with England, Scotland, Wales. It's all changing so fast. Nothing like this has ever happened in all of history, except when, say, the Mongols swept across the steppe and raped everybody. That was true demographic change on this scale. But even that wasn't as profound as what we're seeing in every white country around the world. I would say the West, but Australia and New Zealand also. So, what is that? Now, my brain is not big enough to understand what that is. I have a lot of theories about it, but I don't know if they're true. All I know is what the numbers are, and that's real, and no one feels that he can say it. Everyone's like, oh, well, if that were happening in China or India or Malaysia or Senegal, it doesn't matter. You'd be like, what the hell is that? The population's totally different. Look at graduation. Pick, King's College Law School, and look at the graduation picture for the last 30 years. Who's in it? Just let your eyes tell you the truth for once. This is a total change in population. Is it better? Is it worse? Can't have that conversation. Who's pushing this? Does the population want it? The population clearly doesn't want it. There's no polling that's meaningful on the subject. There's no referendum on it. You don't get to decide. You've got no voice in it, other than you get to go to jail if you complain loudly enough about it. What is this? I think it's the biggest and darkest thing that has happened in the last 1,000 years, for sure. And I think it's leading somewhere really, really bad. It's not happening by accident, that's obvious, because it's only happening in white countries.
I think that...
Oh, shut up, white supremacist. Well, in fact, I'm not a white supremacist. I'm just noticing what the hell's going on.
I think most people I've spoken to about this in the UK, most people have always viewed the UK to be a very tolerant, multicultural, cosmopolitan place to live. That's why so many people want to come here. And people have no problem with that. And it's been very successful for a long period of time.
Wait, it's multicultural? What does that mean?
We have a lot of different people from different countries, different cultures, and it's always worked historically.
So is Sharia law in a multicultural country, is Sharia law... What does that mean?
We have a lot of different people from different countries, different cultures, and it's always worked historically.
So is Sharia law in a multicultural country, is Sharia law every bit as valid as English common?
No, people don't want Sharia law here. No.
A lot of people do. Wait, hold on. I don't know what you mean. Multiculturalism itself is a lie designed to subvert a society. No, a society has a culture. You can argue about what it is or ought to be. It's not necessarily the same as race. It's connected to race, but it's not the same. People from different races can buy into your culture. That was kind of the beauty of the West. But a multicultural society is not sustainable. There's never been
your
such a
society
thing.
is
One
about
culture will dominate.
Hang on, Tucker. Surely the United States of America, given the very way it was created, is the epitome of a multicultural society. And my point I was going to make to you was...
It's absolutely not. It's a, no. It's a multiracial society.
Yeah.
Though it was not actually a multiracial society up until pretty recent. It was just like 90% white for most of its existence, but whatever. But you did have different peoples, you had different religions. That was all totally fine, but there was one culture, as American culture. There's no such thing as a multicultural society. It's not sustainable. One culture will overwhelm the other. Again, it's not the same as race. It's not identical to race. It's connected, but it's not the same. But multiculturalism is by definition insane. No, it's never happened. It never will happen. One culture will predominate. It will impose its values on everybody else. I mean, the gay thing, which was not a thing 40 years ago, gay was a slur, all of a sudden becomes multiculture there. There's one culture, and it's required. And that's true in every society because a culture is a commonly agreed upon set of values, which in their firmest form are called laws.
But those values can evolve.
This is true everywhere.
But those values can evolve.
Of course they evolve, but there's only one set of them.
Look,
it's not multicultural. There's one set. You worship one God in every society. Sorry.
But your country's values were established by the United States Constitution, and that's had, 26, 27 amendments? Right. So your own values, as determined by the founding fathers, they have evolved and been changed to accommodate changing time.
There's no doubt. Look, I'm not even arguing against change. That's natural. It's natural that people's views evolve.
So the culture changes.
Once you start rejecting the laws of nature, then you're doomed. But let me just say, no, of course, societies change. I get it. All I'm saying, I'm making a very discrete, specific point, which is multiculturalism as an idea is laughably stupid. It has never worked. We never had it anywhere, and it never will exist because it's contrary to human nature. One culture, one way of looking at things, one worldview will predominate, and it will punish all who deviate from it. That is the nature of societies. So if you're telling me it's
determined by the founding fathers, they have evolved and been changed to accommodate changing time.
There's no doubt. Look, I'm not even arguing against change. That's natural. It's natural that people's views evolve.
So those values can evolve.
There's one culture, and it's required. And that's true in every society because a culture is a commonly agreed upon set of values, which in their firmest form are called laws.
But those values can evolve.
This is true everywhere.
But those values can evolve.
Of course they evolve, but there's only one set of them. It's not multicultural. There's one set. You worship one God in every society. Sorry.
But your country's values were established by the United States Constitution, and that's had, 26, 27 amendments? Right. So your own values, as determined by the founding fathers, they have evolved and been changed to accommodate changing time.
There's no doubt. Look, I'm not even arguing against change. Natural that people's views evolve.
So the culture changes.
Once you start rejecting the laws of nature, then you're doomed. But let me just say, no, of course, societies change. I get it. All I'm saying, I'm making a very discrete, specific point, which is multiculturalism as an idea is laughably stupid. It has never worked. We never had it anywhere, and it never will exist because it's contrary to human nature. One culture, one way of looking at things, one worldview will predominate, and it will punish all who deviate from it. That is the nature of societies. So if you're telling me it's multicultural, we can all live and have radically different values, that's just not true. It's never been true. It never will be true. So you're having one culture, one worldview predominate over another and dominate and suppress all dissent. That's just what it is, dude.
But
let's be honest.
I would point to the United States of America and the United Kingdom as two shining examples, albeit not completely without their flaws, but shining examples of places that are deemed by the rest of the certainly feel that about my country.
Well, I certainly think that inherent in Christianity is the notion of tolerance, and that draws from a core Christian concept, which is free will. You cannot force someone to convert. There's never been conversion by the sword in Christianity. People decide to believe in it. And so that is central to the religion, therefore it's been central to the society. Western civilization is Christian civilization. And so we call that tolerance. It's a respect for your inherent God-given right to make a choice about what you believe. Okay, so of course, that's always been a feature. My only point is, a society has a commonly agreed upon set of beliefs, rules, and laws that are the definition of the society itself. That's what a society is. So you can't have competing. You can't have, gay world and Sharia world living co-equally in a society. That does not happen. It will never happen. You have to pick one. Are we the Sharia society? Are we the party time gay rights society? Like, which one? And you can't face that reality. So you're just sort of snoozing along until the inevitable point where you're going to wake up and be like, my values have no bearing on what our society is anymore, because we've been invaded by other people with a totally different worldview, and they're now in charge. And that day is coming very soon for your country, and maybe it'll improve it. I don't think the UK could be a lot worse than it already is. It's this kind of disgusting, sad, self-hating, suicidal island that was once great. It kills me to see it as a half English person, but that day is coming. It will change. You will either decide to be Western or Eastern. That's a choice that we're all going to face. I don't want to face that choice, but it's being foisted upon us by the architect. That's a choice that we're all going to face. Suicidal island that was once great. It kills me to see it as a half English. That day is coming. It will change. You will either decide to be Western or Eastern. That's a choice that we're all going to face. I don't want to face that choice, but it's being foisted upon us by the architects of mass migration. Sorry.
I would question your characterization as my country as a sad, disgusting, what's the rest of it, suicidal nation. I feel none of those things. I feel very happy to be in the United Kingdom, and I feel that there are lots of very happy.
Our system, the Western system, which is very distinct from the Eastern system, very distinct, and it's distinct on this one precise point, we believe and have always believed since this country was founded, since your country became, not a pure monarchy, but even when it was a pure monarchy, the belief in the West, because of Christianity, was the worst thing you can do is punish the innocent. That's the worst thing you can do. That's worse than not punishing the guilty. And we often said that to each other. We no longer say that because there is a pretty concerted effort to blur the meaning of these terms. But I'm not going to be deterred from defining words precisely. Terror is murdering people, killing people, punishing people who committed no crime. Period.
So when the Israeli government says it has repeatedly that even though over 20,000 completely innocent children are believed to have died in their response to what Hamas did on October the 7th at the hands of the IDF, there are many on the pro-Palestinian side who say that Israel is behaving like terrorists too in the way that they have gone about conducting this war. Would you go as far as to say that?
One of the things that I really object to now is this relentless focus on Israel, which, by the way, is a foreign country that I have nothing to do with.
We've done this before. Now, maybe today things are different, and we will end up living in a nation that is sharply divided and may ultimately produce something else. But I'm an American. I love my country. I want to see it stay together. I'm interested in social cohesion, which means that I think our laws, customs, and culture have to be dominant. We can accept some diversity on the edges, but not fundamental division. I think we're in a state of fundamental division. So when I bring up Sharia law, I've sat in many discussions with many people that said, well, I don't care what people look like, but I do care about Sharia law, and I don't want that practiced anywhere near my family or in my country. And that's something you should be aware of. So the notion that someone can come here and say, well, that's part of my religion and we're going to abide by Sharia law, they're going to find serious resistance and opposition in the country.
And as I clarified, I
It's because it matters. It's this thing we call societal cohesion. Nations do not exist on their own. They have a core population. Our core population from the very beginning was always at least 80% European and Christian and about 15 to 20% African. But when you start bringing in huge numbers, millions, who are fundamentally different from the core population, you are going to get violence, anger, and conflict. How many times have you heard people say, if you bring people in from the developing world, what do you get? The developing world. And now we've got that. You can't bring in hundreds of thousands of people from Somalia, plant them, of all places, in Minnesota, and then be shocked that, no, they're not Americans. They're not really interested in being Americans. They're foreigners living on American soil. Nobody wants to say that publicly. If you do, oh, well, you're a racist. Well, you know, the world is full of racists. The real war that's going to decide our fate is not going to be fought anywhere overseas. It's going to be fought right here inside the United States. Are we going to survive as a republic, as an English-speaking republic that rests on the foundations of Western civilization? Or are we going to become something else?
One point that is
The Constitution was completed in 1789. I think we had 5 million people living in the 13 British colonies. We were 90% white, that is excluding the Africans that were in the country who had been brought here as slaves. But we were 90% white. We were 90% Protestant. And this may be hard for you to believe, but the people that wrote that were trying to protect all of the Protestant sects from a state church on the model of the Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church. That's one of the reasons it was almost 100 years or more after that before people began to finally accept Catholicism as a religion, because it was viewed as political power. My point to you is the Constitution is outdated. The way we are governed is outdated. It has to be re-examined. Nobody in 1789 imagined that anybody would come to the United States except another lunatic, religious fanatical Protestant who hated the Church of England. That's what people feared. That's what they thought of. The Constitution that we have does many good things, but I would argue that the Bill of Rights is ultimately more important. The Bill of Rights is vital and essential, and that needs to be defended. But the Constitution and the way we govern and the things that we're doing, it's out of date. It doesn't fit our needs. And that's back to my comment on something given has no value. You have to earn it. And we haven't made anybody earn their place in this country. I'm talking about people like me that have been here forever. My first ancestor stepped off the boat in 1681. So we've got to get back to some notion of national service, because national service promotes national integration. It addresses some of these problems that you're discussing. Now, I know that you may not want to conform and may not want to be as I am, but I'm an American and nobody questions that. Nobody ever will. If you don't want to stand out and be questioned, then I suggest that you change your appearance, because I don't think it's life or death for you to wear what you wear.
I think this conversation.
It's not fine, because it's leading to violence that could have otherwise been avoided. You see, every great nation, every large nation can always accept some number of people into its ranks that are different from them. It's always been the case. But if you suddenly import millions, which is what's happened here and happened in Europe, then you threaten the core gene pool. What I'm trying to tell you is there's a problem. And we can all pretend that there isn't, and you can insist there isn't, but that's the view. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to address it truthfully and openly. Stop pretending it's not a problem. It's a problem.
I mean, what's also a problem is white supremacy, and that's.
No, because you're saying you're different, you're going to remain different, and you don't think that if that's not compatible with being an American, then the hell with it. That's what you're going to do.
Well, then what do you make then of, white American people who convert, let's say, to Islam and choose to cover? Are they not American anymore?
Listen, if they want to do that, that's obviously their business. I don't know how many are out there that do that. I think again, it's ill-advised. I think you have to hold the society together. There has to be an agreement on certain things, customs, culture, way of life. And unfortunately, if you're going to practice rigidly a brand of Islam that demands certain things, and this is why I asked right off the bat, do you support Sharia law?
I'm a Muslim. What being a Muslim means is I follow the guidelines of my religion, which is a peaceful
Does your religion dictate to you Sharia law?
My religion dictates to me to be a good human being, to be good to my neighbors, to
that the most powerful force in today's Republican Party is represented by what Charlie Kirk said. It is this drive to make America a white Christian nation. I got to tell you, this is what they say privately. This is now what they say publicly. This is what Charlie Kirk said publicly.
And Joe, again, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because you know these people very, very well. Yeah. You said it yourself. You were one of the strongest voices. You were one of the folks who understood the incendiary language when you were in Congress, when you had your radio show, and how people loved when you did it. And then when you chose to apologize for that and turn away from it, oh my God, they literally have just tried to destroy you because of that.
Yeah, again, you know the deal, Roland, right? I came out publicly against Trump 7 years. For 7 years, I put up with death threats on a regular basis. Nobody is welcome in that party unless you bow down to what this force is, this MAGA force. And again, look, there have been some people on the left who've celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder. Shame on them, be better people. But this is much worse, Roland, what my former friends are doing on the right, because they are turning this into a holy war. When you say we declare war on the left because of what some 22-year-old young guy did in Utah, and then you declare war on the whole left, that's a lot worse than celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder, because that's dishonest, but that's also inciting hate and violence. And Roland, look, Trump's an idiot. So yeah, Trump says the left, the problem in the country is the left. J.D. Vance is not an idiot. What did J.D. Vance say today, right? He was subbing for Charlie Kirk on his radio show, and he spent the entire show going after the left, going after them, they, them. Man, Democrats need to wake up, Roland. This is a really serious deal by my former colleagues. The stuff that I hear privately from them right now, Roland, for the last 5 days, I mean, they want to go to war. This is a holy war.
Oh, it absolutely is. And what really jumps out at me on this very thing here, Joe, and I've been saying this, I played the speech 2 weeks ago that mainstream media just ignored, of Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt, who gave a speech at NatCon, Peter Thiel's group, where he literally gave a white nationalist speech, where he said our ancestors fought for this country to be ours and no one else. He was talking about white people. He was basically saying, if you are Black, Latino, Asian American, or even Native American, America is not for you. And folks just ignored it. And so people need to understand, again, what they're saying, why they're saying it. And yes, there are many evangelicals, any very conservative white Christians who are pushing this as well. And you nailed it. They want a holy war. They want a race war. They want this to be a white country. It is clear as day.
And Roland, really important point. Charlie Kirk, at only 31, the impact he had because he was one of the most successful pushers of this white Christian nationalistic idea. And so I think that's why all of his defenders are out there so strenuously denying he said anything divisive, because they know if you really go through Charlie Kirk's public record, everything he said about people of color and black women and Muslims and gays and transgenders, if people took the time to go through all of that, and that was put out for average people to see, they'd be blown away by it. That's why his defenders are like supercharged right now. They don't want that record to be seen.
Today, you mentioned, and I mentioned as well, Vice President J.D. Vance sitting in to do his show. And listen to this man just blatantly lie, Joe. Play it.
I read a story in The Nation magazine about my dear friend, Charlie Kirk. Now, The Nation isn't a fringe blog. It's a well-funded, well-respected magazine whose publishing history goes back to the American Civil War. George Soros's Open Society Foundation funds this magazine, as does the Ford Foundation and many other wealthy titans of the American progressive movement. The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words. He made an argument against affirmative action as a policy. He criticized a specific Supreme Court justice as an individual. He never said anything about black women as a group. He made an argument for judging people of all races and backgrounds by their own individual merits.
Bullshit.
Okay, Joe, this is actually what he said.
No, Roland, that's utter bullshit.
In fact, you know, if we would have said 3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color.
All right, Joe. He literally said it. Not only that, Vance lied. Soros does not fund the nation. So he sat there and flat out lied.
And Roland, remind me, what's J.D. Vance's job? He's the vice president, and yet he had time today to do a radio show for a former right-wing podcaster. I mean, look what they're not even, Roland, they're not even subtle about it, what this White House is doing. They believe, man, the path to victory is fear, hate, and division. And that's what they're putting out there. That was Charlie Kirk literally going after 4 accomplished black women by saying they didn't have the brain power to get where they got. This is what he believed. And this is what MAGA believes. And that, again, Roland, broken record, that's why Charlie Kirk was so damn successful. Why he had such a big audience.
Yeah, and not only that, you take Nick Fuentes, who's to the right of Charlie Kirk. The night of or the day after Kirk was shot and killed, Fuentes had 200,000 people watching him live. And so what you have this fervor. And so when I listen to Trump and Vance and all these people talk about, how the left, they're indoctrinating. No, and you know this very well, the indoctrination. We've had people who formerly are with Turning Point USA put out videos talking about how it was really this cult-like figure, this messianic figure, as they sort of set Kirk up as, and how they want them to follow that. And so that's what's going on here. These people are not trying to have open dialogue. And not only that, Joe, you take Trump, okay? Trump was very clear in saying he was not going to call Governor Tim Walz after those 4 folks were shot in Minnesota. 2 were killed, including former Speaker of the House and her husband. Now today he's saying, he never even heard of Melissa Hortman. And if the governor had asked him, he would have, of course, lowered the flags to have staff. I'm sorry. He's also lying. He knew about her. He knew about the shooting, but he was so arrogant that he said, 2 Democrats, a Democrat Speaker of the House shot and killed. Yeah, I don't care, but lower the flags to have staff with Charlie Kirk. Flies body on Air Force 2. Do a memorial service at the Kennedy Center. Do another one at the Arizona Cardinal Stadium. Give him the Medal of Freedom. And I'm telling you, they're going to give him a state funeral. That's what you're seeing right now. And then you got Peter Hegseth going after members of the military who said anything negative in the aftermath of his death. You've got Kirk supporters creating a database of people of every social media post, and then even Vance saying in the podcast, you call their employer. So the so-called free speech people all of a sudden are saying, if you say anything negative about Charlie Kirk after what took place last week, we're going to come after you, come after your job. I thought they hated cancel culture, Joe.
Yeah. Roland, I remember back in my right-wing radio days, I would come on every day, and there was always some story about some leftist group on a college campus that couldn't handle speech that made them uncomfortable
to say.
Roland, this is scary, and you and I are old enough, man, to remember huge figures in American history who were gunned down, struck down, military leaders, civil rights leaders. We are treating this 31-year-old podcaster, MAGA influencer, like he's Jesus Christ. So I come from the right. Why are my old colleagues and friends on the right doing this, Roland? Because the right wants a religious war. Let's just call it. They want a civil war. They want a holy war. That's why they're putting him up to be some Jesus-like martyr.
Absolutely. I mean, Glenn Beck literally came out and said he was a civil rights leader. Oh, my God, stop it. Stop it. I've seen people say, I've seen a lot of these videos, I'm leaving my church because my pastor did not mention him. This was a Christian warrior. And let's just be clear. You said it, white Christian nationalists. It's slaveholder religion. We heard a lot of this stuff during slavery, during Jim Crow, things along those lines. And this whole idea about, it was about debate. It was about, exchange of ideas. I mean, come on, let's just stop it. And so we see what's going on here. We see the games that are being played. And then what gets me, Joe, is this whole deal of, oh my God, the left, how they indoctrinated him and the accused killer going to a university. The dude was at a university for 1 semester, Joe. You're trying to tell me that 1 semester at a mostly white institution in Mormon, Utah, which is not a liberal bastion, somehow just radicalized him? I mean, it really is showing folks the hand they're trying to play.
Yeah, and I think even on top of that, Roland, I think it was like some technical school. So it wasn't some crazy liberal arts school for a semester. Look, cut through all the BS. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has publicly said that America should be a white Christian country. This is what animates my former party. Roland, you know me, right? Tea Party Hellraiser. I don't come from the left. I left the Republican Party when the Republican Party became MAGA. And my fellow Democrats and folks on the left need to understand, now these people are on the right. Now this is MAGA. MAGA now are the snowflakes. MAGA, Roland, they now need their safe spaces. It's funny, but it's not funny. And you're right about J.D. Vance, man. He just flat out lied. I mean, the last 30-year history of political violence in this country, the vast majority of it is right-wing. It always has been. And they put out this lie that it's only on the left. It's not even, Roland, a both sides problem between the left and the right. There is political violence on the left, but the vast majority is on the right, and they know that, and they're lying because they're trying to inflame their base. And Roland, I hear from their base every day, and let me tell you something, they are inflamed. I mean, they are ready to march and grab their you-know-what. This is a scary time.
It is, and folks need to understand what is certainly at stake. Joe Walsh, I appreciate you joining us on the show.
History of the cross, known by their works. What's the history of the cross? 500-year history of the cross. Murder, rape, destruction, deception, enslavement, burning, terrorizing. To maintain a slavery system, you must terrorize the people 24/7. They terrorize people from Africa and America for 400 years. Constant terror, 24/7, rape, murder. In the name of Jesus. This was Christians, not Buddhists, not Hindus. Christians, in the name of Jesus, where they said Jesus cursed black people, they call them Ham, cursed them to be slaves and persecuted forever. In the name of Jesus, raped our women incessantly, pissed in our mouths, made us eat shit. And they took and tried to clean up, not clean it up, but make it look more fashionable, I guess, by calling it chitlins. That's after slavery, of course, after so-called slavery. Because what was endured was not slavery. Look up slavery. Look up slavery. It does include murder, rape, terror. This is a Holocaust. And then now they try to downplay it. Oh, that was 400 years ago. No, it wasn't 400 years ago. I don't care if it was a million years ago. It was 400 years ago. It lasts for 400 years. And it's enduring today. They took everything away from the slaves. Everything. Their name, their culture, their families, their religion, their minds, everything. Fed their children to alligators as alligator bait. And then they talk about what's going on in Gaza when they did 1,000 times worse. What's going over in Gaza now is simply just a miniature version of what they did. What they did was far worse than what's going on in Gaza. Gaza's bad. It's genocide. What they did was far worse and much longer. That's the legacy of Christianity. Murder, rape, disease. They wiped out the native population with genocide and disease. Smallpox blankets, knowing they was full with disease. Herpes, syphilis, gonorrhea from sleep with animals. So-called common cold was not common. Didn't exist here on this side of the world until they brought it here. Murder, rape. When they was raping out women, they had a cross hanging from their neck. And again, they taught black that this was God's will. God's will. Enslavement of our people. And they continue on even today. That's the legacy of Christianity, the cross. So where's your rap sheet? Every time they arrest one of our people, your rap sheet. What's your rap sheet? How are you going to judge people for murder when you're guilty of murder beyond imagination for hundreds of years? Hundreds of years. Theft. You stole this land and murdered its people. And you crushed the native people here. When the braves would go out hunting, you would come into the camps like cowards and kill the women and smash the children's brains out on the hooves of your horses. This is the legacy of Christianity. That's the legacy of it. The question is, if instead of Columbus coming here, Dracula came here, Beelzebub, Wolfman, Frankenstein, Satan, and they all came instead of Columbus. What could they have done that Columbus and those that followed him did? Satan is the God of this world. That's the God they're serving. They have known him by their works. What are the works of Christianity? What are the works of Christianity? Where's the works of Christianity? Evil, deception, mischief, bloodshedding. It goes on today. And what's going on in Gaza, just reflection and microcosm of what was done here in America for hundreds of years. Raped out women incessantly. They would even rape while they was out in the fields picking cotton. They would jump off their horse and tell them to bend over and rape them. And tell them to keep picking cotton while they was doing it. This is the kind of stuff that they would do. Make one slave defecate and slave up in the mouth of another slave, and then bound it up so they couldn't spit it out for 7 days. That's a legacy of slavery. You did it all in the name of Jesus. That's a legacy of slavery. Legacy of slavery. 40 years plus. Legacy of Christianity. Legacy of the cross. That's the legacy. That's the true legacy. So whose works are those? Who are you serving? Who are you serving? The legacy of the cross. Where's your rap sheet, America? Gog? Where's your rap sheet, Magog? Britain? Where's your mayship? Where's your rap sheet? Antichrist, false Israel? What's your rap sheet? Then they colonized Africa. They're stealing for ripping off everyone. It's the legacy of Christianity. They've been ruling for over 500 years. And now, the threat of nuclear war to finish off everything. That's a legacy of Christianity in the name of your Jesus.
Surely you ain't talking about us packing our bags and going westward or going out there in the land. Ain't no cities, no towns, no infrastructure out there. Surely you ain't talking about that, are you? No. We ain't going back to Africa. No. This is your land. Our sweat, our tears, our blood has earned us the right to the land. What God wants you to do is come out of their ways. Come out of their pagan holidays where you should be honoring Jesus. You are out here buying bunny rabbits and inviting your children to paint eggs for some Easter hunt. Come out of her. Get the Santa Claus out of your house and a tree that is the way of the pagans. Come out of her. St. Valentine's Day. The heck is that? Excuse me. Come out of her name. Come out of her religion. Come out of her culture. Come out of her way of life. Come out of her educational system.
Put it back to their people. When they was put off on the shores of North America. And the ship, Jesus, that John Hawkins brought our best hero. They stood and stared at it disappearing in the horizon, crying, watching to return, with their hands stretched out towards that ship, and tied in chains themselves bound together. And when they was put off on this memorable shows, they stood there staring at that ship that brought them to a strange land and a strange people who could not speak either one's language. Now they have to live in a strange country and a strange people who had proven to them every mile from their native land that they were going to be the worst enemies that they ever lived with. They were going to be the people that would destroy them. They soon discovered that on this ship that they were being brought here on. I don't know how we should say anything in the name of Jesus of good for us when this ship was named Jesus. This is how that we have always been deceived by the white man, trying to use Jesus, the name Jesus, to lull us off in a mental sleep, thinking that we are on our way to heaven. This is terrible. My beloved brothers and sisters, this is very hard for us to even to accept today. Imagine our parents standing crying to return to their native land and people, and you here today crying to stay with the very enemy that brought our fathers in subjection to their will. You and I, turning your face from your own native land and turning it back towards our own prison house and our own enemies who have destroyed us and seeks to further destroy us. How do you feel? How do you feel? Not wanting to return to your people. They are trying to make love with the very people that destroyed you and your parents. How do you feel acting so? And even today, they are beating and shooting you down throughout the country. There is no justice here for you and me. Why should not you want to be separated and be returned to your own? I ask you that question. Think over your parents on the eastern shore of North America, crying and praying to God to be returned to their own 400 years ago. How would they like, or you like to see them rise up in the judgment condemning you for being such fools as now want to live in the land that absolutely enslaved them and killed them and beat them for 300 long years here. They would condemn you as being fools for not wanting to be separated and go to your own, build up a nation for yourself after the white man say you are free. Remember that.
you ain't talking about us packing our bags and going westward or going out there in the land. Ain't no cities, no towns, no infrastructure out there. Surely you ain't talking about that, are you? No. We ain't going back to Africa. No. This is your land. Our sweat, our tears, our blood has earned us the right to the land. What God wants you to do is come out of their ways. Come out of their pagan holidays where you should be honoring Jesus. You are out here buying bunny rabbits and inviting your children to paint eggs for some Easter hunt. Come out of her. Get the Santa Claus out of your house and a tree that is the way of the pagans. Come out of her. St. Valentine's Day. The heck is that? Excuse me. Come out of her name. Come out of her religion. Come out of her culture. Come out of her way of life. Come out of her educational system.
Put it back to their people. When they was put off on the shores of North America. And this ship, Jesus, that John Hawkins brought our past hero. They stood and stared at it disappearing in the horizon, crying, wanting to return, with their hands stretched out towards that ship, and tied in chains themselves bound together. And when they was put off on this memorable shows, they stood there staring at that ship that brought them to a strange land and a strange people who could not speak either one's language. Now they have to live in a strange country and a strange people who had proven to them every mile from their native land that they were going to be the worst enemies that they ever lived with. They were going to be the people that would destroy them. They soon discovered that on this ship that they were being brought here on. I don't know how we should say anything in the name of Jesus of good for us when this ship was named Jesus. This is how that we have always been deceived by the white man, trying to use Jesus, the name Jesus, to lull us off in a mental sleep, thinking that we are on our way to heaven. This is terrible. My beloved brothers and sisters, this is very hard for us to even to accept today. Imagine our parents standing crying to return to their native land and people, and you here today crying to stay with the very enemy that brought our fathers in subjection to their will. You are now turning your face from your own native land and turning it back towards our own prison house and our own enemies who have destroyed us and seeks to further destroy us. How do you feel? How do you feel? Not wanting to return to your people. They are trying to make love with the very people that destroyed you and your parents. How do you feel acting such? And even today, they are beating and shooting you down throughout the country. There is no justice here for you and me. Why is it that you want to be separated and be returned to your own? I ask you that question. Think over your parents on the eastern shore of North America, crying and praying to God to be returned to their own 400 years ago. How would they like, or you like to see them rise up in the judgment, condemning you for being such fools as now want to live in the land that absolutely enslaved them and killed them and beat them for 300 long years here. They would condemn you as being fools for not wanting to be separated and go to your own, build up a nation for yourself after the white man say you were free. Remember that.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. Sulman Rahim here, Veteran of Covenant. Okay, brothers and sisters, it's been a year now, and We're finally home after 40 years in Arabia. I'm reporting to you from Arabia. Finally home after 40 years. Right? And so we've been here a year now. When there was an agreement made, a former slave master, he said, we had a choice. Stay here or leave. Right? So we chose our inheritance, Arabia. So we left. And half the original people decided they wanted to give up their inheritance and trade it for a place in America and reconciliation with their former slave master. That's their choice. They chose, said, we don't want to go over to Arabia. We don't go to where it's sand and all that stuff. We want to stay here in America. We've been here all our lives, been here 40 years, born here, right? And we can make peace with our slave master. Okay, so they decided to stay. And so after a year, right, we get reports of how things are going over there. And it doesn't sound too good. How things are going over in America with their reparations. Because they was given, they got 6 states, I believe. Yeah, see? Yeah. Yeah, they got those 6 states right there. That's what Farrakhan told them. You know, they was listening to Farrakhan. Farrakhan promised them, you know, they stay there, 6 states, right? Had their own land. And they can make reconciliation with the former slave master. They're not devils. They're not devils. They're human beings. They just had a rough, you know, they were just, you know, did some things wrong, but now they, you know, they're gonna make amends and make reparations. So 6 states, and in addition to that, they gave everybody $1 million. Everybody stayed $1 million. Okay? Say, thank you, Farrakhan. They're so happy. Thank you, Farrakhan. Thank you, Farrakhan. Man, you got 6 states. That's what you promised us. We got 6 states. They're thanking you. Thank you, Farrakhan. Right? And you know, I mean, this was a year ago. They got the 6 states. Thank you, Farrakhan. Right? Everybody got $1 million. Everybody $1 million. And they're rejoicing. Oh man, they're so happy. Hey, we great, man. We made it. We got America, man. We got reconciliation for a master. We got 6 states. Everybody got $1 million. We're all rich. That was a year ago when we left. So we're in Arabia. They're still back there in America. And now we're getting reports a year later. This was the way it was a year ago, man. They were so happy. They were so happy. Right? And now we get reports of what's going on right now. Let's see. Oops, it says a power failure. Great power failure in those 6 states. Power failure. And just those 6 states. Right? So, and now they had a big master. They came asking to turn the power. Well, why can't they do it? Oh, Farrakhan didn't train anybody. He was telling you about 6 states, but he never prepared you for them. So nobody knows how to do it. How to turn the power grid back on. So now he's begging, man, master, can you come and turn this thing back on for us? I mean, you would think that if he told him 6 states to promise him that he would have prepared him for it, right? Their schools and education, whatever they needed for that. But now I guess they didn't, because they said over there now he's begging the former master to come and turn the power back on. And then what? I mean, this is all that's happening now. I mean, I'm getting these imports in now. A year later, it's like they're coming in every hour. Power grid failure, right? Then say, oops, crop failure. All of a sudden, there's no. They say they looked at the farmers when they done it. Farmers said, "Oh." So then they asked master, what's happening here? How come no? Right? Our crop. They found that the land they gave them wasn't that fertile. A year later, nothing's growing. Crop failure. And now master, what's happening here? Right? And then, I mean, all these things, every hour that's coming in, right? And then they look, and they had, a year ago they had plenty of food on the shelves, right? And now, they look there now and all the food's gone. It's gone. And she said, what am I going to do here? Food's gone. The house is empty. So he said, Master, we need some food. Well, how come you can't put your own food? I mean, you want your own country. You got your own states. That's your country. Then you run it. What are you calling us for? Right? And so they've been praying. And then, oops, no fuel. There's massive no fuel there. Well, you got to buy your fuel. You got to produce your own fuel. What you calling us for? You got your own 6 states now. What you calling us for? Go and get some fuel. You got money, right? You got your own states. So you got to get your own. What you calling us for? You said you wanted your own, so now you got it. And you got your reparation, so we don't owe you anything anymore. We don't owe you anything anymore, so what you calling us for? We don't owe you anything. You said you agreed to 6 states and $1 million per person. You took that instead of your inheritance, what you call the Abrahamic covenant, Arabia. Your brothers and sisters, they left. They took that was offered to them. They took it, and you said no. I want this instead. So now you got it. So what you calling us for? Oh, no communications. Oh man. No communications, right? No medical facilities. So what's going on, Master? Wait a minute, hold on. What you calling us for? That's yours. You got to handle that stuff. You want us to handle it for you? You want independence, now you have it. I mean, wow, this stuff was coming every hour, man. Instead of like a year, they was celebrating. And now they crying and begging the master, hey, we got all these problems here. I said, wait a minute, that's yours. What you come about your problems? You have to work those out. Right? No transportation, I mean, no planes from nowhere. We learned about fly the planes and drive the trucks and the boats and stuff and to go and get this stuff. Well, what you done that for? You wanted this, you got it. So go ahead and train your own pilots, build your own planes, build your own boats and right? You see what I'm saying? Transportation, build your own trucks. What you calling for? Yeah, Master, we see this. You said you wanted 6 states, you got it. You want $1 million per person. That was the reparations. So then if you didn't pay people to take care of this, how is that our problem? You're independent now. You're really free now. Oops, no fuel, the gas station's empty. I can't drive, man. And no gas. Man, wow. All this stuff happened like for a year. They thought that everything was great, and all of a sudden everything ran out. So I guess what happened? Everything was there when they got it, and then it ran out. They had to, for them to replace the fuel, to get the farms going. So they was left with that stuff. The factory was full. I mean, warehouses full. Then you had to keep they thought that was just going. I guess they thought it was just going to be there, just by itself. They didn't prepare for it. See, and they ain't trained any engineers and scientists and architects and stuff. They ain't, business. They didn't train anybody. So Farrakhan, he told you he's going to get this for you, but he didn't prepare you for it. He didn't get anybody to handle this stuff. So what was that all about? So now he asked the master, said, hey, don't call on me. You was here, you had it when you was here with me. You said you want independence, you wanted reparations, so you gave it to you. Well, call on your brothers over there. They left, they handled their own business. You said you want to stay here. Right? See? You don't have any professionals or technicians, scientists, doctors, none of that. See? I mean, that's what, because if you're going to set reparation, you should be preparing for that, right? So if he was telling you about reparation, you should be preparing for it. If he said, God said that's where you're going to get you, so if God told him he's going to get that for you, then he should, like when God told Noah there was a flood coming, to only build an ark, so he started building an ark. And so you should start preparing for the 6 states and the reparations, but apparently you didn't. And so now, it does say, look, hold it. We want total separation. Look, we don't want you to call us no more. We don't want you to call us no more. Because you're wearing us. You want your own country. You got your own land. Right? You got money, $1 million, all this stuff, right? And so now we got to protect your money and everything too? No, you have to create your own money. You have to do all these things, your own wealth, not ours. Right? So we're going to cut you off from that too. That's all economics. So they go and tell it. They tell all the people all the white folks, right? All the black folks, and all the black folks is either in Arabia or in those 6 states. That's the solution. You had to be one way or the other. There couldn't be no integration, that kind of stuff. That's the deal. You just said one or the other. So all the black folks are there, ain't no integration, that kind of stuff, right? Black folks are there, one or the other, so they're there. So he said, okay, right? So they just say, we're going to take that money because we don't know what y'all doing over there. You have your own money, you have to find your own wealth. So what they do is they tell all the white folks, say, protect your money, right? Transfer your money into gold. Transfer all your dollars into gold. Okay. Now remember, they gave everybody $1 million a piece. So everybody got $1 million a piece, right? And say, transfer it to gold. And then what happens is that what they do is they start just printing money. White folks just start printing money. You understand what that means? That's inflation. Right? Because if you got $1 million of gold, a million ounces of gold, say 1 million ounces of gold, understand this, and you got 1 million certificates, then you say each certificate is worth 1 ounce. If you got 1 million ounces, each certificate is worth 1 ounce. Understand that? If you got 1 million ounces of gold, and you got 1 million certificates, each one of those certificates is worth 1 million. If you want to say trade with the certificates, each one of the certificates is worth 1 ounce of gold. Right? But if you take and print, you say you got 1 million ounces of gold, and you got 1 million certificates, each one. But say you print twice as many certificates, you got 2 million. Well, then each certificate is only worth 50 cents now, because you got to connect that to the gold. Well, you print 4 times, then each one is worth a quarter. So the more you print, the less they worth, because those certificates has to equal what the gold is. You understand? So the more you print money, the less, right? The less they're worth. So if you print twice as much money, right, there's less gold. You understand? So $1 is worth 1 ounce of gold, which that's right. Then if you print double that amount of dollars, then each one's worth half an ounce. You understand? That's what printing money without increasing their wealth does. That's inflation. So what happens is they keep printing. They get down to where $100 is worth a penny. But see, that doesn't affect their people. They told to protect their money because they transfer their money to gold. So gold still has its value. It's just the dollars don't. It still got the same amount of gold. But the dollars, they get down to a penny. So you can't buy it. You had $1 million, now your $1 million worth of $5. That's all it's worth. $1. Hardly worth anything. Hey, that's our money. You got to have your own money. You control your own wealth. You can't keep coming at us what you're doing. And you think they wouldn't do that? Yeah, you've been a Gaza lately? You see what happened to the trees they made with the so-called natives? Kept telling me he had a forked tongue because they kept making trees with them, then they broke the trees and took their land and genocide and everything else. But no, they wouldn't do that to you. See? Because now you have, your money's worth nothing. They haven't lost anything. Because once that money's worthless, it's no good, right? Then you bury it up, throw it away, it's worth nothing. The people still got gold. And even if they take it, hold on, the money hope to increase again, they just use another different certificate, use another form of money. So it's still worth nothing. That $1 million you had, you was so happy with it now, it's probably worth maybe $1. So you can't buy anything with $1. Plus the economy's collapse because everything is failing, and you don't know how to repair it. You don't know how to get those communications. You don't know how to do any of this stuff. You're not an engineer, build a house, you don't know how to do anything. Because Farrakhan didn't. Right? He didn't prepare you. He told you he'll give you 6 days. He told you, listen to me, right? So now you're broke, and your economy is gone. You have no food, no electricity, no power, anything, right? It's not their fault. They gave you what you asked for. You saw out your inheritance for that. And then they closed the border. Because you're going to try to get back into America now. We want to come back in, Master. No, we don't want you back in here. We sorry, we want to come in. No. That's what you chose. You stay there. They closed the border, so you can't get back in here. You can't get back in America, into what you could call your land now. Swaziland or something? Farrakhan. Maybe call it Traveland. Farrakhan. Named after Farrakhan. Right? So they close the borders, you can't. Because now you're hungry and everything else, your money's worthless. Oh God, come back, Master, I'll come back work for you, I'll work for Popeyes, I'll do anything you want. No, remember, now blacks, either they over in Arabia or they in that land. There are no blacks in America, in places, just in that land that you 6 days. And now you're starving, you ain't got your money's worthless, nothing works, and they close the border. Right? And then you see Master, you on the phone, you talking to the guy that you kept treating, help you. Hey, we finally got rid of niggas. Finally got rid of them. Finally got rid of them. See on the phone. Yeah, it worked. We sold them no reparations. We sold them that used car. It turned the miles back and everything else, and they bought it. See? They could have had a BMW. They could have had a Lamborghini. They sold that for a BMW that looked good. Damn thing didn't work. And now they're starving, living in tents. Praying. So what? Then what next? What we gonna do, Farrakhan? What we gonna do, Farrakhan? You told us to take reparations, so we did. But they gave us everything we asked for. What we gonna do, Farrakhan? What we gonna do? Pray, 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 pray. That's his answer. Pray, pray, pray. That's your reparations. Like Elijah Muhammad said, he had a big picture. We leaving, and blacks staying on the shore, the ones stay behind, and they was whooping their ass. Right? Because they all thought you think they want to give you some land and take care of you? You think they want to do that? And go bankrupt, give everybody $1 million? You know how much that is? If it's 17 million, if it's 17 million times 17 million times a million is like $17 trillion, I think, something like that there. Then they're gonna do all that for you. They want to get rid of you. So now they have succeeded. Because they closed the border. What you gonna do? You gonna fight to come out? They closed the border. They got the military around there. They finally got rid of you. No more black problem, no more Negro problem anymore. One group's out of here, another group that's here. They're gone, and our hands are clean. We gave them what they wanted. Well, anything. Okay. God honors contracts. Remember he honored the contract with Jacob. Esau sold his birthright for a bowl of soup to Jacob, when it was Esau's inheritance, and God honored it. Okay, Jacob, it's yours. You're the one. And that's the deal. Because he ain't your friend. Pharaoh ain't your friend. Pray, pray, pray. That's the answer. And this homeland you was promised, you rejected it. So now you got what you asked for. So if they gave you reparations today or tomorrow, how would that scenario not play out like that? Well, they say, okay, you got it. Tell me how the scenario wouldn't play out like that. And tell me why they wouldn't do it. They love you so much, they're going to say, okay, we're going to take care of them. I mean, why should they go out their way to take care of you when you was right here? You was working at Popeyes and then they get up on Section 8, all that stuff right here, because they're trying to get rid of that stuff right now. Trump's trying to get rid of all that stuff right now. Because they're closing on you don't realize it. Anyway, that's just, that's what's happening over in America. Wow. Boys, come here. Disaster over there. And, I just got a call. Oh, wait, hold on. Really? You serious? Our ambassador just got a call from I don't know what they call it Conland or something. I forgot what something they call it right there. That 6th day. They begged us to come and help. Can they come over here? Can we come and get them? Really? Can we come and get them and bring them? Oh no. Now he went and asked Master Farad Muhammad, right? He said, no, hell no. We ain't going to get them. And I agree with that. Yeah, the Master said he said, let's call him, and he passed the word to Master Farad Muhammad. Master Muhammad said, send him back. Master, no, we can't come and get you. You made your choice, live with it. Or die, whatever the situation is. Wow. I can't believe that. They actually, right, sent a message over. I don't know how they did. I don't have any communication with it. Somehow they got the information over to them. Said, we please come and get them. Nope. Said, no, tell them no. And don't waste time communicating with us anymore. You got your land. You got your reparations. You got your money. You got Farrakhan as your leader. Yeah, tell him. Talk to him. Let him straighten out for you. He didn't want to sell you the idea. He was a salesman. So you on that idea of reparations. We told you. Right? Suleiman, right? He was the messenger to you, telling you, look, man, let's go home. You said no. You chose not to. Okay, well, since that's a sad story. But I guess that's it. Is that it? Oh, they're not getting more reports on this. Okay, he says that was Matthew Prophet Muhammad's final decision, and I think they closed communications off from there. So, like I said, brothers and sisters, we got those guys that came in. All that came in today, man. Came in fast. After a whole year, total collapse. Now they begging it. Somebody help them. We can't do it. Maybe Master help you. We won't do it. Assalamu alaikum. Update, brothers and sisters, got another late report in that they said, well, if you want to come and get us, well, we at least send them some food. They begged, said, please send them some food. Master Muhammad said, no, we got to send them a damn thing, nothing, zero. He said, please just send some food. No, I just got that in. He says, if you can't come and get us, please send us some food. He says, no. He refused. I said, boy, I just got the information from the ambassador. He said, they sent that, and he's read to me. He says, no. He said, please, just please send us some food. He said, no, no way. You made your choice, case closed. Okay, just got that in, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.